Welcome back to the channel, folks. We managed to get down over the Christmas period with my underwater camera, reaction camera, for a little look at the bottom of the lake. Something we've been meaning to do this long time, just had never got round to it. This time of the year, obviously the water clears a little bit. The winter time with the fish not feeding so hard, it's a lot easier to see. For those of you who don't know the fishery as such, say it's mainly a clay-based bottom. And I suppose we'll replicate any fishery that's clay-based. It's quite interesting to see just how the lake has changed over the years, and how the carp have changed the bottom of the lake as such. Again, hopefully help with the members for their fishing, and hopefully people can take something from it too. But you can clearly see all the ups and downs in it. Quite polished, some bait there obviously left from the weekend. Quite a lot of leaf litter, which we were expecting around the lake. Yeah, you can see some sweet corn here where somebody has been fishing from the weekend, hasn't been eaten yet. And again, lots of little ups and downs and humps and bumps, areas that are definitely worth finding. Slightly deeper area there where they've obviously dug the bottom out as well. You can see when the camera has touched the bottom here, it's not bringing up much silt, so it's obviously an area that the fish use regularly, and we know because obviously fish are caught from this area regularly. But little bit of silt, but very, very little. You can see an old boilie there, actually, it hasn't been eaten. And again, a little drop off there, I see a little bit in the bottom there with a nice polished clay, obviously a known feeding spot. And again, that's that sweet corn that I say has been left over, that they obviously haven't got to yet. Again, lots of little stones, and I say lots of little bits of leaves, which is obviously when you chuck your rig in, find your spot. You do not want to be moving that lead, as you will pull the hook into either leaves or hit it off stones. And we're around to the back of the island now, and what we call the ramp. It's an obvious feature in the lake. It's where the digger would have tracked up and down onto the island, for those who don't know it. Right centre of the back of the island, and a known spot for the fish, especially in the summertime, because it's only about a foot, 2 foot deep, and it gradually gets deeper. A good spot for a bite in the summer, or at any time of year, to be honest. But you can see how hard it is. It was originally would have been clay, but obviously over the years the fish have dug it away, and I suppose erosion, the wave and everything else has exposed all the gravel. And again, lovely and clean. And again, you're fishing anywhere up there, you can present a bait without any issues. As we move across towards, there's a patch of lilies grows on the right hand side, or actually be the left hand side from the bank. On the island, you can see here the roots of the lilies that are absolutely full of leaves. You can actually a little cover of silt over them. So obviously the fish aren't in this area much, definitely not at this time of year. We know they're in there in the summer as we see the lily pads move, but winter time they're obviously not in that area at all. Leaf litter is very acidic, and they won't want to be stuck in the middle of that. It'll not be very comfortable for them. You can see the last of the stems of the lilies there, they broke down. And again, to the side of that, between the lilies and the island, again, just full of leaves. Obviously where the current has let the leaves gather and they've got washed too, but obviously an area the fish aren't visiting. And again, as we start to go down the side of that ramp, again in front of peg 11, 12, it's again, you can see the side, it's quite clean, very gravelly again. And again, there's lots of little areas there, that's not quite as steep as what I imagined it was going to be. That's the first time I've had the camera in, and I knew it. Obviously I know the lake quite well, but I thought it was a little bit steeper than what it is there, but it's not. You'd sit up on that no problem with a rig. Again, as we get heading down towards the base of the island here, you can clearly see here, just to the top right of the screen there, all the leaf litter that's gathered at the bottom, at the base of the island. So again, winter time, not summer you want to be. Definitely you want to be either up on that ramp, up on the side of the island, up on the shelf, or you want to be slightly off it. Definitely fishing in among that leaf litter. Of course, you could fish over the top with a pop up or a slow sinking pop up or wafter, that's using some PVA foam, etc., and letting it drop down nice and slowly. But again, not moving that rig at all. Is definitely, you can see all the little stones there. You imagine you cast in, hits the bottom, you trail it back a little bit as you're setting your bobbin, etc. All it is to take is that hook point to hit off one of those stones, and that's it blunt. We put the point over. You see a big stone there, actually, another nice little feature. Put the point over, and then it'll be basically render the rig useless, or again pulling it back, pulling it into a few leaves. Again, the rig's buried, the fish aren't going to touch it. Again, that's back up into that leaf litter that was around those lilies. Now move over to the opposite side of the ramp, which is again to the right hand side in front of the big tree, as you would see it from the bank. Again, you can see we're just up on the top of it here on the edge. Very, very clean. There's obviously a big stone. You can see right around that stone how clean it is. The clay is, or the gravel is. Obviously a known feeding spot. Again, a nice little feature, which is probably about a rod length, 10 foot anyway, off the island. And our little stone there, you can see they've exposed. Again, so clean and hard there. So you touch the camera off the bottom, there's nothing comes up at all. Obviously, as we know, the fish feed there regularly. But again, line lay is another issue. You look at how steep the sides that ramp is, especially this side is a lot more steeper. You can actually see a patch of nice clean clay there, where obviously the fish are using that for rubbing, I'd imagine, to take the parasites off them, leeches and stuff this time of year. But I'd say line lay to the left of this, where we are at the moment, is peg 3, and basically straight in front of us would be peg 7, 8. And again, 7, 8, you're going with the ramp, your line's going to be coming up it, especially if you use a back lead. And peg 3, you're going to have lines. If you imagine if you're up on top here, up the side, your line's cutting right through the middle of the swim, and it'll be very, very obvious. Again, down to the base of this side's slightly steeper. Down to the base, you can see it's lovely, clean, basically gravel there as well, right at the base. Then once you move out, but like the opposite side, it gets quite dark here. It's very hard to see, but you can see we're coming in a lot of leaf litter again, where it is gathered at the bottom. Again, an area you don't want to be in. You want to be, especially maybe using your marker float, spend a little bit of time clipping up, finding that. You see the base there, lovely clean. Finding that edge of that ramp, and hitting that spot every time. Went down in here below the laurel then, which is out in front of peg 3 for those who know the lake. She come across a golden tench here on the way down, which didn't seem to be overly bothered by the camera going down through. They were quite lethargic anyway this time of year, probably wouldn't bother them, but it was quite dark in here. From what I could see, it was a bit of leaf litter, but it was quite dark. And back to the front of the island again now, to the opposite side, again in front of peg sort of 12, where the stump is, and that laurel tree is. Again, quite clear here, lovely hard clay. You can see clearly the fish are again using this area regularly. You can see a huge big dugout there. Not quite sure, I need to go and investigate that again further in the future. But there's obviously an area there where they've dug the bottom completely away. I'll say lots of little, there's another little area there you can see where it clearly drops off. A few leaves about. Again, this area would, I suppose the wind would predominantly come in this way, which would probably keep this area clear of leaves. Again, you should have no problem presenting the bait there. And you can see all the little ups and downs, a lot of little twigs coming in now, little bits of branch. It's obviously got buried in the bottom. Again, another reason not to be using that, moving that rig. As soon as you cast out, open the bail arm, set your bobbins with the bail arm open so you're not, tighten up nice and slowly to the lead. Moving back up the side of the island now, the opposite side, over where we dug a little bit out, again in front of peg 11, 12. I dug this little area out, you might have seen in one of my other vlogs a few months back. You can see some little insect life about there too. Lots of little freshwater shrimp. But we dug this little area down, just as about 2 foot deep, just to give a wee shelf. Again, we know this side of the island is quite steep, as you can see. Again, there's another little area there of nice polished clay. There's another area they're using. See a lot of debris here. I've no doubt a little bit of that has come from me digging that out, and the stuff that has rolled down. And again, getting down to the base of the island, again a lot of leaf litter. You see, you can see here now a lovely little patch of stone, real polished clay. No doubt that's an area there's fish, maybe some minerals coming out of that stone, and that's an area they're feeding on regularly. Definitely accuracy is going to be a big thing from now on with the fishery, as it is in all lakes. And I'm sure all clay lakes will be the same as this. Lots of little humps and bumps and up and down, and finding those areas, find those natural feeding spots, spend a little bit of time with the marker float. Or again, feeling your lead down, leading about, trying to bounce it off the bottom, trying to make sure you're in a little hard area of clay. So there's not very little, we're lucky with very little silt. We chalk the lake every year, which breaks down the leaf litter. that helps. And again, the fish rooting it up, they'll soon disperse all that come spring, which is why we don't get any trouble with it in the summer. It's between the chalk and the fish doing the work for us. It helps to break all that down. But again, as time goes on here, as the fishing gets harder, the fish get bigger. We thin them out every year, as we know. Finding these little areas is going to be key. And again, clipping up to them and making sure you're on that spot every time. You can see it's quite steep here down the side of the island. Again, I would say you'd struggle to sit there. Again, down to the base, you can see a lot of leaf litter straight in front here starting to come in. Nice big square stone. Again, I say just coming down to that base. There's you're getting back into that sort of, you can see it in front of the camera there, up to the top right, a lot of leaf litter appearing. But again, I say there's lots of little ups and downs. There's another little up and down there, you see a bit dug out in the side. When we get over towards the end of the video, over towards peg 5, you'll see there's a lot more silt. That's obviously where all the big row of poplar trees is, and there's a lot more leaf litter over that area of the lake. But again, this area is lovely and clean. I say, even with it being steep, there is little bits, as you can see, that are dug out that, you know, you will be able to sit on, if you are accurate with your casting. And again, I've no doubt those areas the fish will feed on. There's another little hole, as you can see, in the bottom. Again, we're into a little bit of leaf litter. As you can see, the camera's getting a little bit darker here as we head into the slightly deeper water at the base. But we're out now. I'm going out in the boat now onto the middle of the lake. It's out in front of peg 11. Again, it's quite dark here. It's quite hard to see, but the bottom is lovely and clean right the way around this area. A few leaves, obviously, here and there, but very, very clean. Again, the reason not to be moving that rig, casting in, you can see as well, there's lots of little ups and downs and humps and bumps. Natural feeding spots, I have no doubt. Those fish are visiting those areas regularly. You can see, even say, when the camera touches the bottom, there's a little bit of debris coming up, but not very much. Obviously, up on the side of that island, you'd get away with a very short rig. On the hard clay, here you'd want maybe a little bit longer, just to allow for the silt. I'd say there isn't an awful lot of it, but you can see here in a moment as well, there's a huge hole, huge crater the fish have obviously dug out. I see it looks like the surface of Mars here. Just to the left here now, you'll see there. Obviously we didn't quite get it all with the camera, but you can see a huge hole there, and again, that's obviously a natural feeding spot for those fish, somewhere you'd want to be finding. We moved over to peg 5 now. I say a lot more silty over here. You actually see some pellet here. It's our feed pellet that we put in the night before. It obviously hasn't been eaten yet. Little parcels. It sort of replicates a PVA bag. Just shows that one of the tactics that works so well on here is the PVA bag, and it replicates that pellet as the fish come across it. That little mouthful of food. Why it works so well. But again, quite silty over here. A lot more leaf litter. It's very dark over here. It was very hard to see with all the tree cover. Obviously, there's not as much light getting in. But I'd say definitely you can see all that little parcels of food. But that's about it, folks, for now anyway. We'll try again soon.